Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I am doing my monthly wrap up again. So this time it is for August. August was a very busy month. We had some visitors, explored the Highlands, met some Highland cows. We also attended a lot of fringe shows, some comedy shows, magic shows and hypnosis shows. So we have done a lot this month. It was also my birthday. It was really nice because I had my brother and my grandpa come and visit during my birthday. So that was really nice. And we also then took them up to Inverness, and that's when we spent the week exploring the Highlands. So nice to have a moment with my granddad. For the very first time, he saw a tiger, and it was his first wild cat that he's ever seen when we went to the Highland Wildlife Park. And that was incredible to see his reaction and to explore that with him. And yeah, it was just incredible and such a fun time. I really loved all of the experiences and memories that we made on this trip. We stayed in a log cabin, which was so picturesque. It was in the middle of the forest and it was surrounded by incredible trees. There were so many little birds and it was just a fun time. So yeah, it was an incredible journey. And like I said, it was such a busy month, but I still managed to read 12 books in total for the month. So slightly less than July, but it's still very good. And I've noticed that in the second half of this year, my reading has kind of increased. I'm getting through a lot more books. I have the motivation to read a lot more, and it's been an incredible journey. So now I'm going to tell you about the books that I've read during the month of August. So to start with, I've got my laptop here and I'm going to read out my stats for the month. So like I said, in August I read 12 books and my total pages read were 3,592 pages. That is about 1,500 less than last month. I had no DNFs, which was nice. We had 2 5-star reads. I don't know how many I had in July, but it is good to have 2 5-star reads this month. A lot of 4s and a couple of 3s. So it hasn't been too bad. I've had maybe 2 2-star reads. I didn't really enjoy a couple of books, but I will run through everything with you in a second. I read 5 horror books, 3 thrillers, 2 dystopians, and 2 fantasy books. So reading across genres, which is really fun, and majority of these are adult books as well. So I think that is all my stats. If you spend too much time telling you about these books, I am just going to quickly run through them and trying to keep this as short as possible. So I'm going to start with the one I have just finished recently and then work my way back to the start of the month. Hopefully that's fine. So the first one is Horror Movie by Paul Tremblay. This is a new release and I didn't really enjoy this. This was probably like a 2-star read for me. It reads just like the Paul Bearers Club, and if you know me, you know I absolutely hated the Paul Bearers Club. It was such a bad read. I kind of struggle with Paul Tremblay's writing, and not all of his work kind of resonate with me. So yeah, this author is like a hit and miss. So I have only enjoyed one of his books, which is The Cabin at the End of the World. And I think I'm going to give him another try. I do have A Head Full of Ghosts on my TBR. So I think that's going to be like his last chance. I'm glad to have picked this one up from the library rather than spending money on it, because I don't know if I'm actually going to enjoy everything that this author writes. So if you did enjoy the Paul Bearers Club, then you will probably like Horror Movie, because it is kind of written the same way. And it's just not for me. I don't really like this style of book. But yeah, I did give it a go, and that is horror movie. Next up, we have Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. This is a new release that is published on the 10th of September. This one was incredible. I do have a vlog dedicated to this book, so I'm not going to tell you too much about it. I will kind of delve deeper into this book in that vlog. So if you are interested, then do subscribe and come back and see this vlog when it comes out. But I love this book. This was a perfect revenge story, and it's like they get what they deserve type of story. So it is definitely an interesting read, and I can't wait to delve into the themes and the overall story of this with you in that vlog. So do come back to check out the thoughts in more detail about Guillotine. And also for that vlog, I read Bloom by Delilah S. Dawson. This is another dark horror book that she wrote last year, and it was on my shelves for a really long time. So I thought when I was gifted Guillotine, I would read Bloom and Guillotine together and create a vlog for you guys. But yeah, like I said for the other book, I will go into more detail on my thoughts and opinions on Bloom in that video. But this was kind of a fun read. This delves into toxic relationships and obsessive behaviors, and a look into cottagecore and how quickly beautiful life turns to chaos. So definitely a fun read. The language in here was kind of annoying at the start. That was a problem for me. But like I said, I will delve deeper into this book in that vlog. Next up, we have Pine by Francine Toon. This is a story that is set in the Scottish Highlands, and it's very atmospheric. It follows a little girl and her dad who live in a tiny village, and this is written in such an atmospheric way that you feel claustrophobic whilst reading it. It definitely delves into and gives you an insight of small village life, but it also has supernatural and spooky elements. So it's a fun, twisty thriller that is kind of gothic and makes you wonder what's going on, and you kind of feel sorry for the people involved, and you really want to know what's going on, sort of thing. But the only problem I had with Pine was the ending. It felt too rushed. I felt like there could have been a lot more discussion around the outcome rather than just telling us it so quickly to get out of the way. And I wanted to know more about the connection between two of the characters. There wasn't much exploration on the main plot point in there. So yeah, there was a lot more development that needed to happen in this book, but it was still a fun, atmospheric read, and definitely one I enjoyed reading, especially as I'm living in Scotland and been exploring the Scottish Highlands myself. I can kind of get to grips with the area that they're talking about in this story. So that was a fun time. Then I read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison. This is for a different project, so not going to say too much about this, but I enjoyed it. It was a fun read. I keep saying that about all of these books. Yeah, so it's getting repetitive, but it's quite cool. This is a werewolf story. It's about a girl who goes through life and is kind of taken back to her twin sister in a time that she is needed there, and something happens to her one night. They think she gets bitten by a bear, but in reality she is bitten by a wolf and now is a werewolf herself. So goes through the transformation, and this is a story that explores childhood traumas and transformation as a person, but then also into an animal. It also explores sister relationships and has such a cozy feel. I thought it was a really good book to read, and it does scream kind of feminist in a way. So it was a good book, and I really enjoyed reading this one. Next up, we have Riley Sager's The Only One Left. This is a thriller story, and Riley Sager is another author that I'm either hit or miss with. This is the second book I've read in like 2 months from Riley Sager. I am trying to catch up on some of his newer releases and backlist to kind of catch up and see if he is an author that I really want to read from every time, or like an automatic buy. But last month's book made me question if I wanted to read more, but then I read this book and that kind of changed again. This story is like his twistiest thriller yet. It's a story that follows a girl who is sacked from her job in the care industry, then is offered a new caring position for a woman who is wealthy but not able to look after herself. So she goes to this house to look after the woman, and like along the way she discovers a lot of secrets of this family. It is so twisty that it actually did shock me. I really loved reading this book and I didn't want to put it down. I think I read this within like 2 days. It is such a fun read. Definitely listen to the audiobook as well. I really enjoyed listening along with this one. So I give this a 4-star because it was such a fun time. But again, I'm not sure if it's going to be an automatic buy for me. I do have one more that I want to read from Riley Sager, and then I will probably make up my mind on it then. But this was a fun book to read in August. And then next up, we have a book that I've been meaning to read for a while, and it's Cycle of the Werewolf by Stephen King. This is a really short novella from Stephen King, and I've noticed that I've been enjoying Stephen King's novellas a lot more than his longer books as of recent, but this is no different. I really enjoyed this story. It follows the kind of premise of a werewolf, typical story for a werewolf. And the town is terrorized by this werewolf each month, and there is a disabled kid who is attacked by the werewolf, and then he makes it his mission to find out who is actually causing this. And it is such a fun book. It is so dark, and all of the illustrations are incredible. I'm not going to show you anything that would spoil the book for you, but this is the first illustration, and it's just a really good book where it's filled with these illustrations, and it's incredible to read, and the outcome of this book is incredible. So yeah, this one was a fun short book to read. It's dark and disgusting, but so good to read. Next up, we have a book that I was really hopeful about. I've been meaning to find a book that is high epic fantasy that is similar to The Realm of the Elderlings, so I wanted to give Prince of Thorns by Mark Lawrence a try, and unfortunately this just does not hit. It's just a horrible book. I did not enjoy this one at all. I'd give it 2 stars simply because it is readable and like it's an okay story, but I went in with too much hype, wanting this to be incredible and something like Assassin's Apprentice or something like that, but it's like not it, and I just put too much emphasis on this book, which is probably why I really disliked it. I didn't like the main character. He was so unlikable. I think that's the point, so I've given Mark Lawrence some kind of props on writing a character that is so dislikable. So I am not going to continue the series, and I just don't want to read this book, don't want to read this series anymore. It wasn't really a fun time for me. But I mean, it is a book that I can see someone who really enjoys fantasy enjoying. But unfortunately, I think I read it at the wrong time and with too much hype on it. Then we have Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovalino. I absolutely adored this book. This is so gothic, so atmospheric. It is centered around magical realism and a beautiful story of family, and it does scream like a generational kind of sisterhood. There's a lot of women who band together to kind of help each other out because the goblins in the market are kind of taking over. So this is a really good fantasy, but it's dark and twisty. It's full of atmosphere. It's magical. So this book is an incredible read. I have really loved Tori Bobolino's writing in all of her books at this point. So I'm really glad that I finally got around to reading Not Good for Maidens. We have The Ghost Woods by C.J. Cook. This is a book I read at the start of the month, and it was really fun and very dark, centered around women who are pregnant. They go to this house to give birth. Their children are put up for adoption, but there's something not right. So it's a really twisty thriller that is really intriguing and steeped in feminist beliefs and theming. So fun book to read, really enjoyed it. The next two I'm going to do really quickly because they are by the same author. So I read Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and I started the month with Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. So I really enjoyed Sea of Tranquility, didn't really enjoy Station 11, despite them being centered around a virus. This one is just so much better. It is structured so much more clearly. It jumps through time. They both jump through time, but this one does it so much better. So I would suggest, if you are debating which book to pick up, probably read Sea of Tranquility, because I absolutely adore this book and I've given it 5 stars. It was so good. Both sci-fi based stories that are centered around a virus taking over the world and people having to deal with the consequences. But they are both really good reads. Sea of Tranquility just stood out a lot more to me as a better book. And there you have it. Those are all the books that I read in August. Rounded out really quickly because I don't want to make this video much longer. So with that, I'm going to end out this video. Let me know in the comments what you read. I would love to know and discuss with you. And I guess until next time, keep your pages turning and embrace the darkness. Bye.